you had a falling out with wrestling. You fell off, didn't follow it as much. And then your brother Talal once again pulled you in with CM Punk's pipe bomb promo. Then you watched Brandon Bryan versus John Cena and you thought to yourself, I can do this. Over this period, when you first fell in love with it and then you came back to wrestling, did that change the way you viewed wrestling? Did you fall in love with it for a different reason? When you came back to it, did you now fall in love because you viewed it as a business? You mentioned you applied as an intern as well. You were more interested in the creative side until you watched that match. Were you now more interested in it as a business, as a creative, as an art form? Or do you think you still gravitated towards it because it was gladiatorial combat, like you mentioned?
No, definitely it changed for sure. Because as I got older, I started to question the creative decisions.
Yeah.
I would get on the internet more and find forums and chat rooms where we'd talk about wrestling and complain about what was going on and who was getting pushed and presented well and who wasn't.
Yeah.
I became a smart mark, but as a kid, you just go, oh no, my favorite guy lost. Oh well, like, oh no, oh yay, my favorite guy won. It doesn't matter. And plus my favorite guy was The Undertaker, so he almost never lost. I remember we were in Dubai with my father and my mother, and I ordered WrestleMania and I watched it live with my dad. It must have been at like 3 a.m. And I saw, that was the WrestleMania where Undertaker wrestled Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. Yeah. And I was literally jumping up and down on the couch while my dad was watching, smiling, because I was so excited for every single false finish and every near fall, every kick out of the Batista bomb, every kick out of the choke slam. Yeah. It made me lose my mind. So you kind of lose that childlike innocence when you're watching and all you can think about is what are the business decisions going behind this and what are the creative decisions going behind this. And that's why I think it's so important for people who truly love pro wrestling to expand their horizons and not just watch WWE or not just watch AEW, but check out a lot of the independent promotions or even the historical. Go back and watch old Ring of Honor, PWG, Dragon Gate USA, CZW, all kinds of professional wrestling for Chikara. They've told incredible stories that are going to be lost to time if dedicated fans didn't prioritize putting all that up on the internet. So, and as I get older, like I said, it's such a contradiction because I will say that Daniel Bryan winning the WWE Championship proved to me that if you're good enough, you will succeed. At the same time, I always tell the students that I talk to, it really doesn't matter how good you are. What matters is how good you are when you get the chance to show how good you are.
Yeah.
So I think for Daniel Bryan, those moments were picked. And he benefited from being the best wrestler in the world, the times when he was allowed to be the best wrestler in the world. In my experience in WWE, it's very difficult to get that opportunity where they say, let loose. I got that chance with Cesaro, and that might be it. In terms of
Ali, maybe.
Yeah. A little bit, yeah. But, you know, that match, I'm very proud of that match because unless I'm wrong, I think it was the first time two Muslims wrestled each other on pay-per-view.
Yeah, very cool.
At the same time, it was supposed to be longer, but then there was a lot of like fun stuff that happened at the end of the match, which was great. But as far as a match goes, like I think if we had like 3, 4, 5 more minutes, it would have really put it over the edge into being like awesome. Like I remember actually we followed Edge versus Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell, which was like a 5-star match. They absolutely killed each other with everything. And me and Mustafa looked at each other like, we're gonna go out there and work a wrist lock, headlock. And I was so happy that the crowd was like, great. I think we reset after all the weapons and high spots and crazy stuff that happened in Hell in a Cell. We just took it back down to pro wrestling. And I'm so happy that the crowd was with it because it could have been completely dead. And then it would have been over.
Yeah, that can make or break it. Yeah,
100%.
Just to your original point, even I had a similar phase of disillusionment, like a disenchantment with WWE. Like I was a huge fan. And then when I found out it was scripted, like I fell away from it slightly. And even the booking decision didn't agree with them. And then I remember I was pulled back into wrestling in SummerSlam 2009, which was DX's final run when they came back. Yeah. And then I was hooked on for a different reason because now I knew it was scripted. So I was viewing it as an art form. An art form, exactly. Like a very unique form of entertainment, like you mentioned. And because I knew it was scripted, I was respecting it for a different reason altogether, right? And then I was a fan from there on.